Okay, so we'll be starting with chapter 1 today. We would finish chapter 1 today as well. We are going to talk about understanding data. Whenever you have a data, how do you make meaning of that data? And we're also going to talk about certain, like when you have a data, we also have like various variables, like categorical variables, numerical variables, and those kind of things. We would also talk about population, sample, and then, like I said, in order to be able to make meaning of data, we are going to learn how to answer these questions: the who, the what, when, and then also distinguish between categorical variables and also quantitative variables. So first, I want to ask, what do you understand by statistics? When you hear statistics, what comes to mind? Percentages? Anybody else?
Data and numbers.
Data and numbers? Anybody else?
Charts and graphs.
Good. So that is right. So all that you said is correct. But the main focus here is to be able to learn how to make sense or how to make meaning of data, how to make good decisions with data. Is that okay? So for example, if there is a data that says that, oh, in this school, the students, the average score for test is, say, very high and all those kind of things. It just tells you that, oh, it means that this school performs well, and so I could take my child or my son there. So statistics helps us to be able to make good decisions with data. So we collect data, we try to make meaning from the data. And also when we have data, there is some variations in the data. And so statistics also helps us to be able to use or understand that variation and to make better decisions. So what do I mean by variation? So for example, if I select 5 students from this class and then I take their average age and I choose another 5 students from this class. And so there could be difference in the average ages from each sample that I take. Is that okay? And so those differences is the variation. Is that okay? Good. And so who can help us when you hear data? What do you understand by data? Mhm. Okay. And also, this notes is also available on Canvas. Is that okay? This slide is on Canvas, and so you can go through it. So what I recommend is just take some short notes, something that will help you understand, because this is available on Canvas. Is that okay? Or you could also look through on Canvas, and then you can use your iPad to write on them if you want. Are you done? Okay. So data is what systematically recorded information. It could be tables, it could be audio, it could even be pictures, video. Is that okay? And sometimes I know a lot of people think that, oh, when we have numbers, numbers are data. That is correct. But also, pictures are also data. It depends on the context. Video, audio, is that okay? And good. So to be able to make meaning of data, we need to know the context. Is that okay? So for example, if I just write 25, 30, 45, 50, 60 on the board without telling you anything about that, it becomes meaningless to you. Is that okay? You'd ask, what are these numbers for? Is that okay? So we don't just want to have numbers, but we also want to understand what these numbers mean. And so before we proceed with that, now let's try to understand what population and sample is. Who can help us? What do you understand by population? Sometimes you hear, oh, the population of United States is like 200 million people. What does that mean? What is population?
It's just like the entire group of people.
It's the entire group of people. Is that okay? So if you hear the US population is this, it means that the entire group of people in the United States. Is that okay? So every time understand that population is the whole group. So for example, this class, the students are about 30. Is that okay? So the 30 is the population of this class. And then when we talk about a sample, the sample is the subset of the population or some part of the population. So for example, in this class, we have 30 students. And then if I choose this people and sitting on this first row, the people sitting in this first row are the sample. Is that okay? They are part of the class. Is that okay? So understand. So the entire population of people in the United States is the population. People living in Boone are a subset of the population. Is that okay? So they are part of the whole group. So I gave an example with App State student, and also even if you forget, remember this class. If you choose some people, those people you chose from the whole group is the sample. Now, let's come back to the data. If we want to understand the data, these questions here are going to help us to be able to make meaning of the data. It is very important that you understand what each of these things here represent, because they are going to help you make meaning of data, and also they are also going to be tested. And so whenever we have a data, we try to ask, what were the data collected? Is that okay? Or it's about whom? What characteristics were recorded? Is that okay? So for example, oh, their ages were recorded, their heights. Is that okay? When was that recorded? Oh, it was recorded last year, or it was recorded yesterday. Where was it collected? And also why? Why are we collecting this information? For example, if I send out a survey to collect some information about like your ages, why am I doing that? Do I want to know the average age of students in my class? So there is a purpose why we try to get data. So we try to answer that. How was the data collected? Did I send out a survey, or did I speak to people, and those kind of things? Is that okay? So it's very important that we are able to answer these questions. And also in your test, if you are not able to identify any of these, you'd say maybe not given or didn't specify. Is that okay? Because they would give you a problem where you'd be able to read the problem, understand the problem, and then also answer these questions. Is that okay? You don't have to worry. We will do a couple of examples here. Is that okay? Any questions so far? Okay, let's proceed. So the who tells us the individuals or the object described by the data. So for example, if I decide to take the ages of people in this class, the who are the, so for example, if I begin to select each of you, the who are the people I selected. Is that okay? If you send out a survey, the people who respond to the survey are the respondents, or they answer the who problem. And also, if you are trying to do experiments on people, the people are the subject or participants. And if those things are non-living or they are not people, the experimental unit. So for example, if you try to, those of you doing biology, try to do experiments on, say, rats, mice, and those kind of things, the experimental units. And also, the what tells us the characteristics recorded about each case. So for example, if I begin to choose people and I begin to ask them about their age, the what is the age. Or if I begin to ask them about their height, their weight, those answer the what. And then those characteristics are called variables. So let's look at this table here. So when we look at this table here is data. Is that okay? And then we can see, who can tell us, what do you understand by, when you look at this table, what comes to mind? What do you think? Mm-hmm.
Just see like people's names and then descriptions of them.
Exactly, people's names and the descriptions of them. Good. And so we want to answer, what are the cases here? Mm-hmm. The different names. Is that okay? Any questions on that? You'll understand the cases here, the different names. Is that okay? And so in this situation here is Alice, Bob, Charlie, and Dana. Is that okay? Now, what are the variables? Sadly, any questions on that? So now you're able to, you can be able to, when you see you have a data or you have any information, you can answer the cases, what variables you have. Is that okay? Let's proceed. So you can see the cases are the names like you said, and the variables are the name, age, height, eye color, and what have you. Now, we will do more examples on how to answer those data information. But before we do that, whenever we have a variable, we have two types of variables. Is that okay? It's very important. We have two types of variables. Is that okay? We have the categorical variable. Sometimes it's also called the qualitative variable. Or we have the quantitative variable, and then sometimes it's also called the numerical variable. Is that okay? And so as we proceed, we are going to have variables, and I am going to ask you to tell me, what variable is it? Is it numerical or categorical? This will be tested on your test too. Is that okay? And these are easy things, you should be able to get them right. And so categorical variables are, for example, like your eye color, your sex, your blood type. Is that okay? And then quantitative variables usually records like your numerical measurements or numerical amount. So for example, your height, your weight. Is that okay? Now I want to ask you, your monthly electric bill, tell me, is that a categorical variable or a numerical variable? It's numerical. Is that okay? Because your monthly electric bill could be $30. Is that okay? Your income, is that numerical or categorical? Numerical. Are we okay? Good. So your class here, so for example, whether you are sophomore, junior, senior, or freshman, is that numerical or categorical? Categorical. Is that okay? Good. How about your student ID? That'll be categorical. Because your student ID doesn't make any meaning. Can we find the average student ID? Doesn't make sense. Is that okay? They are identifiers. They distinguish each of you. Is that okay? So everybody has a unique ID. Is that okay? So the fact that something is a number doesn't necessarily mean that it is quantitative or numerical. Is that okay? Good. Your zip code, it's just distinguishing the place. Is that okay? And then under categorical, we have two types. So we have two types of variables, which is categorical and quantitative or numerical. Good. And under categorical, we have two types. We have ordinal and then nominal variable. So you can see from here the types of categorical variable. So this here is a subset. Is that okay? So what is nominal? Nominal usually have no natural ordering. So for example, your eye color, your hair color, it has no natural ordering. Is that okay? But for ordinal, they have order or ranking. So for example, gold, silver, bronze. When you hear gold, it tells you that was the first place, right? Does that make sense? Good. And also poor, fair, good, excellent. Excellent tells you, oh, that's the best. Does that make sense? So they have natural ordering. And sometimes when you buy stuffs, they can send you an email and say, oh, how satisfied were you? 4 stars, 5 stars. They have meaning. Is that okay? So ordinal variables, they have meaningful order or ranking, but nominal, no natural ordering or no natural ranking. And so as we proceed, we will have some variables and then I'll ask you to group them. Is it categorical? Is it numerical? And if it's categorical, tell me, is it ordinal or nominal? So what I want you to do is to read this problem and then on your sheets, try to answer the who, the what, the when, the why, and then also you should classify each variable as categorical or numerical or quantitative. Now let's try to answer the easy ones first, because everybody likes easy things, right? Good. So let's answer when. Let's answer the when problem.
2004.
2000. You'll agree with that? Okay. And then let's go to the other one. What was recorded?
A assumption that the regular preference followed behind formal preference and geographical dictionary.
You'll agree with that? Okay. How about the who? Okay. But my question is, which, so you've answered the how about the who? You're like, okay. Anybody else? So this says the consumers, this also saying columns and those tabs. Anybody else? Okay. And then how about the where?
Who's,
Okay. So how about the why? So the why, who would help us with the why?
who says,
Who sales? How about the where?
does it,
Okay. Okay. So now I want you to tell me what are the variables here? So you just say one and then would ask, then you group it, whether it's categorical or numerical or quantitative. So who will tell us the first variable? What variable do you see? So for example, here, age, is that okay? So age is a variable here. Do you agree with that? And so now we answer, is that categorical or numerical? Numerical. And then how about weekly consumption? Diet versus regular Coke, cola versus non-cola, preference, and then the geographical locations. So you need to try to group that. So try to group that by yourself. So like you all said, the who is about the consumers. And then what was recorded, you all got that when was in 2004. The where, it didn't say. Is that okay? And then why they wanted to find ways to boost sales. Is that okay? And then the how, they didn't also say it. Whether they sent out a survey, they spoke to people, they didn't say anything about that. Is that okay? Good. And then for the variables, age, weekly consumption. So weekly, so it could be like, oh, every week I take like 4, 5, 6, 1, 0. Is that okay? So that is what? Quantitative or numerical. And then whether you prefer diet or regular, those ones are categorical. Is that okay? And then the geographical location. Now, I also wanted to ask, now within the categorical, tell me whether it's nominal or ordinal. The diet or regular preference, is that nominal or ordinal? So when you come here, nominal means that they have no natural ordering. Is that okay? And then Ordinal means they have order or ranking. So diet or regular preference, it has no ranking. Is that okay? So that is nominal. Whether I prefer cola or non-cola, no ranking. Is that okay? Geographical locations, no ranking. Is that okay? Good. Now let's try this too. So take your time and read the problem and then identify the questions, which is the how, the why, the who, the how, when, and those things, and then you answer them. When you finish, you classify the variables. Are they categorical or quantitative or numerical? And also have in mind that for your homework, your test, and also your final exam, they are all multiple choice questions. Is that okay? So it's very important that you understand them. Otherwise, some of the possible answers could confuse you. And also, in this class, the focus is for you to be able to understand the concept. And so there is a software in Pearson, it's called StatCrunch. It's going to help us to do numbers, compute the mean and those stuffs easily. Is that okay? I'll teach you how to do that. Whilst I'm teaching you, it's very important that if I were you, I'll be able to say, oh, when I go to StatCrunch, click this, scroll down to this, it gives me the mean. Click this, scroll down to this, and click this, it gives me the standard deviation. Is that okay? Because on your test, you are going to do those things by yourself. And so who would help us? What are the questions?
What, where, when?
So have you all been able to write that on your notes? Okay, now let's try to answer them. The who or the cases. That's correct. Do you all agree with that?
What is the mothers? What's the like data is about them?
Well, that is a good point, but the question is who. So it's about like the birth, and then they are trying to check. So when you look at this one here, it says that they collected the data from 300 birth. Is that okay? So those were the people. Is that okay? And then what was recorded? The mother's age, pregnancy weight, and those kind of things. Is that okay? And then the when. Unlike the previous example where it was like 2004, here it tells us like it was over a 5-year period. It didn't specify maybe this year or that year. Is that okay? And then the where, it's easy. You can see from here, a California hospital. Is that okay? And then why? So you can see from here, so they were concerned about what? The rising number of what? Low birth weight in babies. Is that okay? Good. And so the variables, so you see the mother's age, the pregnancy weight, those are numerical. Is that okay? And then the categorical variables are the level of prenatal care, whether they used drug during pregnancy. Oh, yes, no. Is that okay? So those are some of the informations, or these are some of the examples where you can be able to use to answer those who, what, when, why, and how. So if what, how they were able to get, they didn't say that. Whether they sent out a survey, they spoke to people, we have no idea. Is that okay? Any questions so far? And so, in summary of this, we should be able to, whenever you have data, you should be able to learn how to make meaning of the data by trying to answer those who, what, when, why, those cases. And also, whenever we are given a variable, we should be able to say, oh, this is numerical, this is categorical. It's very important. Is that okay? So let's see. So you have these variables here. Classify them. So let's start. Student ID, categorical or numerical? Categorical. Is that okay? Major. You guys introduced yourself and told me a major. Major. Categorical. Is that okay? Number of credit hours. Numerical. So the class year here stands for like, are you a sophomore, junior, those kind of things. What is that? Is that categorical or numerical? Categorical, good. And then your exam score. Numerical. Good. And so that is all for chapter 1. And so I will encourage you to go on Pearson and then start doing chapter 1 homework. Is that okay? And also, I also want to, I'll put in the attendance on the board soon because every day I try to check attendance. And so I'll put that on the board soon. But first, let me try to